Hi everybody, welcome back to my farmhouse kitchen. I'm Missy and this is Rambling Rose Farmhouse, and today I'm going to show you a way to save money. Today I'm going to be dehydrating cherry tomatoes in my dehydrator and making sun-dried tomatoes. So where I live, it's way too humid to make sun-dried tomatoes actually outside in the sun. They would probably never get dry enough to last and not get moldy. But I can use the dehydrator and dry them, which I'm going to show you how to do. And they will last, they won't get moldy, they'll stay good for a really long time. And I can use those in all of the recipes that call for sun-dried tomatoes. Sun-dried tomatoes are pretty pricey if you buy them in the store. So dehydrating your tomatoes and making your own is one way that you can save money in your kitchen. So let's get to it and make some dehydrated tomatoes. So cherry tomatoes are one of the things that we always have a whole lot of, usually more than we can eat, just to keep up with them without them getting bad. So that is one reason that I started dehydrating them, because there are things I can use them for during the winter if I do them this way. So the first thing that needs to be done is getting the tomatoes clean. And I just usually give them a good wash, and then after I get them all done, I either put them in my salad spinner and spin them to get them dry, or I just kind of pat them between two clean dish towels, and get them dry that way, because you really don't want them to be wet when you put them in the dehydrator, since the whole point is to get them dry. So for these smaller ones, I usually just cut them in half and then place them with the cut side up on my dehydrator tray, and they seem to dry pretty well this way. I do the larger ones a different way, which I'll show you in a minute, but these, they dry good like this, and they're very usable. And the other thing I do is I try to keep the same size tomatoes on each tray, because sometimes the smaller ones will get dry faster than the larger ones, and that way if you have them on the same tray, it makes it easier just to take that tray out. If you have them mixed, then you have to pull the tray out and go through and pick out the ones that are ready and put the other ones back in. So I usually try to separate them as I cut them and put them on the trays. Now, one of the things that we like to do with the dehydrated tomatoes, we figured this out a few years ago, is that we really like them in a salad during the winter. So they actually kind of have a sweeter flavor and a strong tomato flavor. And so we usually kind of just break them up and throw them on top of the salad. They are a little bit chewy, but they just really add a nice pop of flavor to your salad, especially if you don't want to have to buy tomatoes in the store, because, everybody who grows tomatoes knows that the store tomatoes that you get during the winter are really pretty awful. And so these little cherry tomatoes dehydrated this way, we have figured out that we really like for our salads. So one of the things that I would like to know is, if you don't dehydrate your tomatoes, but you have something else that you do with them, these little cherry ones, if you have an overabundance of them like we usually do, I'd love to hear your ideas for what you do with them, because I am always looking for new ideas and things to do. So be sure and let me know in the comments if you have something that you do with yours. There's my husband sitting back there in the background. He's shelling peas at the same time while I'm doing these tomatoes. It's just that time of the year when we have all of the stuff coming in, and it's really hard to keep up with. So here's one of the ones that are a little bit bigger size. And what I usually do with these is I like to cut them in thirds and then, lay them out. And it makes them kind of about the same thickness. That's what I'm going for, instead of having just the two sides that are really thick, because it takes those longer to dry. And so I just like to do it this way. You don't have to, but that's what I like to do. And some people put seasonings or salt and pepper, different things on your tomatoes, and you can do that. You can season them before you put them in the dehydrator. I usually just leave mine plain because then it leaves, you know, for any options of what you might want to do. So I know I told you that we use them on salads, but another way that I love to use these is to throw them in like soups or stews, things like that, on pasta or pizza. There's just a lot of uses for them. So I wanted to show y'all these cute, tiny little tomatoes. The name of these is actually spoon tomatoes, and that is just a regular sized tablespoon. And that's how many of these tiny little tomatoes fit in it. So even though these things are tiny, they grow really well, and they're not hard to pick either. I was really surprised. And they have a really good flavor. Like, I really liked them. This year is the first year that we've ever grown these, but I hope to grow them again next year just because I really like them. So I decided to dry some of these also, and they're just going to be, you know, tiny little bites. But I actually think these are going to be the ones that are going to be the best on salad because they are so small. They're just going to kind of blend in to the salad well, and you'll just get that little bite instead of a larger, more chewy piece of tomato. So I'm kind of excited to see how these do. I didn't do a whole lot of them, but I did a few in this little batch of drying just to see how they turn out. So here they are, ready to go into the dehydrator. Okay, and so I have an Excalibur, and you can see here it tells you what to do, and I did mine on around 130 degrees, and I put them in right before I went to bed at night because this was late when I was getting this done. So mine went for about probably 7.5 hours, and they turned out really well. So this is how you want them to be. You want them to be flexible. You don't want them to be like hard and stiff, but you want them to be dry. So if you've never dehydrated before, you'll see, like, it seems like you wouldn't quite know if they're ready or not, but you do. Like, you can tell they're dry, but yet they're still flexible, kind of leathery almost. Like, if you think about, you know, like those fruit leathers and stuff that you get for your kids, that's kind of the texture that they are. And this is the type of jar that I always keep mine in. It seals really well, and I've never had a problem with my dehydrated tomatoes getting bad, getting molded, or like getting back rehydrated or anything like that. These type jars really seal them and keep them good. So this is what I do, and they work really good here in my humid climate. So I think that, especially if you're someplace that's drier, a jar like this would be perfect for you to also store your dehydrated tomatoes and other dehydrated things also, because tomatoes are definitely not the only thing to dehydrate out of your garden. It takes, you know, dehydrated tomatoes and any vegetables that you dehydrate take less room in your pantry than if you can them or did something like that. So if you'll use them, you know, the dehydrator is really good for tomatoes. Some of the other things that I've done are peppers and some squash, different things like that. And so the other thing is, you want to keep this jar, once you get your tomatoes in here, you want to store it out of direct sunlight like you would any other canned, you know, regular canned product. And that's all you have to do to keep them good and to be able to use those throughout the year. Okay, let me know what you thought about this whole dehydrating process. Do you do your own tomatoes? Have you done them before? And tell me what you use them for. So I'm glad that you were here today. I hope that you enjoyed the video and maybe learned something from it, or either just got inspired to dry your own tomatoes and make your own sun-dried tomatoes. And I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments, and I hope to see you back again next week.